guys, welcome back to Dan Kavanagh Photography. Thank you so much for tuning back in. So last week I did a video. I bought a KEH. I do a lot of this KEH stuff. I bought a used, obviously 14 to 24 2.8. Did a video on their excellent condition. Took it out, did some landscape stuff basically with it, and it did just fine. But I had this lens and I'm like, I'm gonna keep it. You know, I'm not big on what this does for landscapes. I don't like the really vast, broad, wide landscapes necessarily. I think I'd rather do a panoramic and shoot in, you know, zoom in with a 70 to 200 and piece together a nice panoramic with more detail, whatever. But I want to keep this lens because, you know, has options for landscape, for getting a lot of the foreground and the background and different things like that. It completed the holy trinity of lenses for me. But I'm like, what else can I do with this thing? Obviously, you know, as a wide angle, you would think it might have some limited uses, maybe architecture, things like that. But you know, I mean, really, you're only limited by your imagination, right? What I decided to do is go ahead and take it out and do some street photography with it. Now, obviously, may not necessarily be the best for people because it's got the bulbous lens. It's kind of like a fisheye effect and kind of makes people look weird, things like that. But whatever. So what? And of course, I strapped it to the D700. D700 being my favorite camera for street photography. So I popped it on there, took it out to Sonoma, and I did a little video for doing that in that area. Alright guys, so I decided to go on another little photography adventure, taking just one lens, and I'm taking out the 14 to 24, and I decided to do a little street photography with it. You know, it's generally, for the most part, considered a, you know, it's a wide angle lens obviously, so, you know, it's thought about for, you know, landscapes and you know, architecture, things like that. But I decided to go ahead and do some street photography with it, see what I can get. Taking the D700 with me, so it's going to be the D700 on the Nikon 14 to 24 2.8. Heading out of town. I'm going to the city of Sonoma, which is just over the hill from me, maybe 15-20 minutes from my house. And it's really a cool little town. It's really historic for the area. It originally started in like 1823 as a Spanish or a Mexican mission. At the time, Mexico was setting up missions all up and down California coast, especially a lot in the Bay Area. They were worried about Russian encroachment of all things, so that they were trying to stave that off. And of course, there were several Native American tribes here. One of the gentlemen in charge of their push was General Vallejo. Now, you guys can look this history up. I'm not super up on all the details in the history, but General Vallejo, if you look at his notes and his logs and his diaries and things, it's really cool because he sits there and he talks about how he saw all the Native Americans out here. They'd be pulling sturgeon out of the Petaluma River, and there were elk and deer and antelope running all over the place in the valley here. Must have been pretty something. You can still find elk if you get out towards the coast and Point Reyes, but of course all of that changed when us white guys came in and took over everything. Mexico, everybody thinks we kicked Mexico out. That's not the case. The fact of the matter is, Mexico, and this is the way, last thing I read, this is a while back, they couldn't afford to keep the territory, so they ended up selling it to us. Of course, it wasn't theirs to sell, it was the Native Americans anyway, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, so I'm headed out to the town of Sonoma. It's become a touristy town. Weekends aren't necessarily the best time to go out there, but it's what I'm doing. It's literally in the middle of the Sonoma wine country. There's wineries all over the place, and the home of Sebastiani has literally got a place right there in town. And I might swing by there. I mean, I'm not a big wine guy. I'm really more of a beer guy, but they do have a couple of wines that I really like. and it could be a good place to get some good pictures. So let's get out there and see what we can get. So on my way out there, I saw this scene. These kind of scenes are all over the area. I like the 3 barns in the picture. I wanted to show you guys just where the grapes do. The grapes come all the way to the road, go all the way to the hills, up and over the hills. They're everywhere. Here, if you see the hills in the background here, the other side's in Napa County, so they're our neighbor, another big wine area. All right, so we're in Sonoma. So if you decided to come out here, take a look around, check out some of the nice sites, one of the things you have to check out is Train Town. Right back here. This is really cool. I want to say 1/8 or quarter scale railroad. They've got steam engines, diesel engines, and you pay to go ahead and you ride around the park. It's several acres. The gentleman that owns it has done a really neat just scale model of this whole town. It stops in the middle where you get to get out. They have a petting zoo out there. It's a lot of fun, especially for the kids. I brought my kids here several times, as many years ago, as my kids are no longer that age, but it's still cool to come out here. It's definitely someplace I would recommend. So Sonoma Train Town, you can see the sign right there. Take a couple of quick snapshots of this and then back on our way. So yeah, I didn't go inside. Wanted to just show you some basics here. I had a great light, great sky today, so I was really happy about that. Just a little sign here. With this particular picture right here, you can see the diesel train that they got going on and the people loaded in it. It gives you a good idea of scale. It holds quite a few people actually. Here I just wanted to get both sides of the tower there. Just the entryway, the sign in the back shows the different directions and things inside. Here over in the corner you can see the steam engines, and they pull those out every once in a while. Those are really cool, a lot of fun as well. So yeah, I totally recommend it. Put the website down below and you can check it out. All right, so basically I'm at the Sonoma Square, right downtown Sonoma. So it's a little park right in the middle, and all the way around you kind of see all sorts of there's shops. It's very, it's touristy. There's boutiques, there's wine tasting places, places to eat, things like that, souvenir shops and so on and so forth. Over this direction, it's the original Sebastiani theater. It hasn't been a theater for a long time. But yeah, this Sebastiani, this is of course the hometown of Sebastiani. Over this direction, we have the original Mission. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at this, and it's the original Sonoma City Hall building, which is a pretty cool old building. So we'll go ahead and see if we can get some pictures of that guy and walk around the town here and take pictures of these really cool old buildings and things. So this area, the history here cannot be understated. So this building was, I believe, built in 1908. Still there, still the City Hall. This is my favorite picture of the day. I've got a lot of comments from Sonomans from this one, which is pretty cool. So just taking some pictures around the square here. I just like the Chevy there at the end of the path. I thought that was kind of cool. So I left the distortion in the buildings. I liked the effect the lens was giving me. That's why I was there with this particular lens, just to see something different, what it could do. So you can see it's a quaint little town. Typical kind of wine country sort of town. It's the Sebastiani Theater. It is still active, still running. They do live stuff in there as well. There it is again. I like the way these 4 sets of people were kind of lined up in this particular image right here. Fell in love with this particular hallway or tunnel. That shot worked out pretty good. Hoping to get somebody in a bicycle to go through it, but that didn't quite work out. So I ended up setting up, taking a couple pictures from there. In this shot, I just showing some of the cool architecture that is there. That's really old and typical from the time. Back to the tunnel, and the wide-angle lens did great in this scenario. Really kind of surprised. Of course, the D700 always comes through with great colors. It's just the best. This particular image, looked cool in the camera, but I totally blew out the sky. Couldn't get any correction in it at all. And this, again, cool building. I left the distortion in it on purpose. I don't know, I like it. It's quirky, it's different. There's some side shots here. And in this last image right here, I like the way the three ladies with the dark hair are lined up, and it sort of points to the guy in the window in the store. Alright, so those are the images. I gradualized right down here at the square. So now let's cruise over to the Sebastiani Winery, see what we can find over there, see if they're open. That'd be pretty cool. So not a lot of people here, which is great, but it looks like Sebastiani is open. They do tours, at least they used to. COVID kind of changed a lot, and I'll see what I can find out, and stay tuned. I'll let you know if you make it out here, if you can cruise by and take their tour. No clue what button I pushed on the camera. It's in speed mode. It picked up no audio. They do not do guided tours anymore. It's self-guided, but you can read all about the history there. So I just took some shots. It's too much history here. I'll go ahead and put the website below. D700 did great. These images are ISO 2500. Really cool, really beautiful. They still use these huge wine barrels to ferment their wine. Don't know exactly what kinds in it. I do know it's reds that they put in the big oak barrels. Love the leading lines of this particular image. Black and white works really well. This is just a sitting area. You can go in and relax. Again, it's still part of the history of this winery. But just look at this tasting room. There's nobody there this particular day, a few people outside, but just absolutely gorgeous. I completely encourage you, if you're going through this area, to stop, check it out, do some wine tasting. Love this image. This is a bottle that I actually bought, but I love the reflection of the cashier at the top of the bottle. She's upside down. I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, so I just could definitely highly recommend it. Had a good time. It was great to go back there. Alright, so just a short little trip to Sebastiani Winery. Again, their history goes really deep in the area. They make great wines. Unfortunately, Dolcino Rosso was my favorite Sebastiani wine, and they discontinued that dude a few years back. However, they now have a Moscato. Moscatos aren't grown in our area too much. It's just not the right climate, I guess, for that type of a grape. But they do have a Moscato. I did a little taste, and I picked up a bottle, so I'm pretty happy about that. If I'm going to drink wine, I prefer the sweet stuff. So we're going to head on back out of Sonoma, head back over the hill to Petaluma, and maybe I'll see something along the roadside to snap on the way back. Alright guys, let's see. Alright guys, so had a great time. The lens performed awesome. It really did. All the images were sharp. Just fantastic. Now, I edited the images and I did the standard Lightroom lens correction on it, but I didn't make it flat. So I left the effects of the lens on purpose. I wanted that sort of fisheye effect to get with the wide angle. So the buildings are kind of crooked looking or kind of weird, and I really dug that about it. Fantastic lens. It was a lot of fun, and the D700, man, always comes through, man. It's such a great camera. I love it. I love the color renditions and all that. It's just old reliable. You can always count on it. So anyway, got a pro tip, amateur tip, just a tip. First of all, I'm not in the camp that says you should put a UV filter over your lenses for protection. It doesn't make sense to me to spend $2,000 for a lens and put a $100 piece of glass over the top of your $2,000 glass. Now, you know, everybody has opinions about that. I don't want to argue it. You know, I do me, you do you, and whatever. What I always do though is put the lens hood on. The lens hood, to me, offers the best protection because, you know, you bop it around and you hit it, even if you fall down flat, you know, it's going to protect your lens. Now, this particular lens, 14-24, is very bulbous. You couldn't put a lens filter on this thing anyway, and the lens hood is built in. This just has a cover for it. What I noticed carrying it around though, you do have to be more careful because it's easy to get in here and hit the lens because the lens hood has the, has the cutouts on the side. So as I noticed it was hanging by my side with the camera, I could actually hit the top of the lens if I wasn't careful. So I had to become conscious of that and make sure my lens was always away from anything on my body so I wouldn't scratch it. So there you go. So use this lens. Make sure you watch out if you've got it strapped around your neck on the camera. So that's it. Highly recommended. D700 plus a 14-24 makes for a fantastic combination. You can't go wrong. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, whatever you do, keep shooting. Till the next time, take care. Please like, subscribe, and share. And on to the next one. All right.